Okay, guys, I'm Tim. I'm the TA of the class. I am here making this video because there was a lot of questions about some of the SimNet related things that were going on. What's the right order to do things? What's going to be the most helpful for your guys' learning? What do I need to do? When do I need to do it? So on and so forth. And Dr. Wagner and I have sent an email to some of the students that have asked some questions, but just in the interest of making sure that everyone has the information and they have some good best practices, I thought I would make a quick video for you guys. So bear with me. Awesome. Okay, so if you look, we're just kind of going into SimNet, and I am going to log in and we'll kind of see what we see. Oh, I always forget my password. This is live TP, guys. Okay, so this is if you go into D2L and log into SimNet this way. Now, I don't like this type of interface because it's a lot smaller. So one really easy thing that you can do when you log in through D2L is you can click Menu, which gives you a series of options. And then you can go to Assignments, which is the most relevant thing to you guys. You can right-click on it and open a new tab. And then you have this wonderful interface. And I'm going to zoom out just slightly to make things a little easier to see. We'll say that's good. But now you have all of these tiles. Now, if you notice, there's three colors of tiles. There's red tiles, which are for exams. There's the yellow files, which are for sim paths. There's blue files, which are for projects. You have some Excel exams, Excel sim paths. And for whatever reason, SimNet decides to organize these weird. The Excel projects are at the very bottom listing. So be careful with that just to make sure you pay attention to those things. So a lot of the questions that people have asked are like, hey, on the syllabus, it says we are only going to be graded on the post test, kind of what should I be doing? So let's just look at this sim path. Okay, so we're going to look at the Excel sim path introductory skills. So that's the first sim path you should do. So if you go here, actually in the lab, I kind of had gone through it, but what you do is the first thing that you should do is take the pretest. Now, the pretest is technically optional, but what we recommend is that you take the pretest. Then, based on any things that you get wrong, the system will automatically create a lesson plan for you here, and that lesson will cover the stuff that you still need to demonstrate you know how to do it. Then we recommend you take the lesson, and after you've done the pretest and taken the supplemental lesson, you should be set to take the post-test and really knock it out of the park. Now, that being said, you can totally skip ahead to start with and just take the post-test. Remember, the post-test is what is going to go on your grade of record. So taking the pretest is kind of like getting a practice test that lets you know where you're at. And then the lesson is kind of a way of telling you what you need to study to do really well. And then the post-test is you being able to get a test graded. So that's the best practice. Also, after you take the pretest and then it generates a lesson for you, the lesson is technically optional. You can totally skip the lesson and go ahead to the post-test if you're so inclined. Again, when I went through SimNet, it was very, very helpful for me to do the pretest, then the lesson, then the post-test, and that really sets you up to have a lot of success. Also, if you take the pretest and get a perfect score, all you have to do is email Dr. Wagner and let her know. By you getting a perfect score on the pretest, that is demonstrated that you know all of the information that's covered in this sim path. And as a result of that, we will just simply upload your pretest grade into your post-test grade. And that will save you some of the time of doing it a second time. So if you notice, Dr. Wagner posted an announcement this week that basically said, keep it simple. Don't do more work than you need to. If you get a perfect score on the pretest, let us know and then you can skip the post-test. Now, so that's the general operational flow of any of the sim paths. This is true of the sim path for introductory skills, Excel sim path 1, Excel sim path 2, Excel sim path 3, and all of the access sim paths, which we will get to later on in the term. Now, remember, so just to recap, best practice for you as a student, go to the sim path that you want to do, take the pretest, great. If you get a perfect score, email Dr. Wagner and you're good on that sim path. If you do not get a perfect score, look and take the lesson the system generates for you, so you learn the things that you do not currently know, and then take the post-test. And you should have greater success by going through that pathway. Cool. So that's how the sim paths work. Hopefully that sets you guys up. Now, going back to the assignments, the next question is, hey, what do I do and when do I do it? Cool. So the best practice is going to be to do the sim paths first, then the projects, and then the exams. Now, I'm not 100% sure which of the sim paths are recommended before the projects. I believe if you do SimPath introductory skills and Excel SimPath 1, that should cover the content that you will cover in the first guided project, but I'm not certain. And so what I would recommend personally is you do all of the SimPaths first. Knock all of the content out. So do Excel SimPath introductory skills, Excel SimPath 1, Excel SimPath 2, Excel SimPath 3. Go through all 4 of those. Obviously not necessarily today, but just go through all 4 of those. And once you've accomplished those, that's when I would shift my attention to the projects. Now, if you notice down here, there's 2 types of projects. There's a guided project, a second guided project, an independent project, and an independent project here. Now, the best way for you to accomplish these things is to do the Chapter 2 guided project first. The way that guided projects work is there will be a PDF that has click-by-click instructions of what you are going to do. So effectively for the projects, the guided projects, like I said, they're going to give you a PDF that gives you very detailed instructions of what you will do. You will also download a core Excel file that has some data in it, but is effectively unmodified. And you can think about this kind of like if your boss in your job was to give you a data file and was basically wanted you to do some manipulation of it. Now, the guided projects, like I said, have click-by-click instructions. And so basically it's like a trainer is right there telling you exactly what to do. So the guided projects, if you follow the instructions, boom, 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 you should be well set up to succeed with those. Be very detail focused. Make sure you read each of the lines on the instructions, but they are set up to give you a click-by-click guide so you can execute it. Then after you do that and submit it to D2L, and all of the instructions are in kind of how you go about it are in there. So after you do that one, my best recommendation is then you go to the corresponding independent project. And this is the Chapter 2 independent project. If you click on it, you can see, I'm not sure why it doesn't display the name on the tile format, but this is the one. So you want to do the Chapter 2 independent project directly after you do the Chapter 2 guided project. The reason for that is the independent project is going to have similar type of content, similar type of steps. Now, the independent project is going to give you, again, an Excel file that has some raw data in it that you need to manipulate. Great. And then it's going to give you instructions, but not click-by-click instructions. It's going to say, hey, do this thing. Hey, do this thing, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of visualize the independent project as if your boss gave you the file and wanted you to do it. And so you just need to set it up, and you don't have all of the information in front of you. So the guided project is a really good set of preparation, or is a good preparation for the independent project. and they have very, very similar things that you will do between them. So, and then the Chapter 8 guided project and Chapter 8 independent projects are just going to deal with a little bit more complicated formulas, functions, manipulations, and so on. So again, a best practice for you as students to learn the content, set yourself up, and succeed is do the sim paths in this order: introductory, Excel SimPath introductory skills, then Excel SimPath 1, then Excel SimPath 2, then Excel SimPath 3. Within the SimPaths, first do the pretest, see what you need to learn, do the lesson to learn those topics, and then do the post-test so that way you are able to get the maximum knowledge and achieve the best score on all of the post-tests. After completing all 4 of the Excel SimPaths, you would then go down and do the Chapter 2 guided project, and then do the Chapter 2 independent project, and then you would do the Chapter 8 guided project and the Chapter 8 independent project. So that's basically getting a bulk of the work done. And then the last part of it is the exams. And obviously the exams are super important because you need to get a 70% on all of your exams to succeed in this class. And they're just the final barometer of what you learned. Now, if you look in the exams, you have 2 things. You have practice exam 1, practice exam 2, Excel exam part 1, Excel exam part 2. So once you've done all the other stuff and you're ready to actually try the exams and everything else, you want to do Excel practice exam 1 before doing Excel exam part 1. Now, the content that's on Excel practice exam 1 is going to be remarkably similar to the content that's on the actual graded exam. So by doing this, it's going to give you a really, really awesome, basically kind of, it's going to let you know where you're at. So it's going to have a certain number of questions, so on and so forth. You're going to go through them. You're going to have 2 opportunities at each question, like all of the other SimNet interfaces that you have. With the SimPaths, when you get the questions wrong, it gives you the answer. With the exams, it doesn't. But at the very least, you'll know by the time you're done with practice exam 1, how many questions were you able to answer with 2 tries, and what are the ones that you don't know? And then you can kind of go back to other content to make sure that you're going to be successful on this. Similarly, you can do the same thing with practice exam 2. So you can take practice exam 2, get a good feel for where you're at, make sure that you know the stuff that you weren't able to figure out, go look stuff up, so on and so forth, and then take Excel exam part 2. And again, the content in this exam is going to segue very much into the content on this exam. So it's going to be really, really, really helpful if you go through that process. So again, SimPaths, pretest, lesson, post-test, SimPath 1, pretest, lesson, post-test, SimPath 2, pretest, lesson, post-test, SimPath 3, pretest, lesson, post-test, and then you want to do Chapter 2 guided project, Chapter 2 independent project, Chapter 8 guided project, Chapter 8 independent project, and then after that, that is when you would really contemplate doing the exams. So hopefully that is something that helps you guys out, just in terms of answering those questions. Obviously, if you have any other questions, if this doesn't answer some of those things, please feel free to send me an email.